Gettysburg is full of grand stories of battle tactics and large lines of men and heroism and all kinds of things out here. But the things I'm interested in when I come out to Gettysburg usually are the individual stories. And that's what this series of stories is all about. We're here at Gettysburg today for that real reason of the individual story. We're going to talk about it. Now this field out here at Gettysburg is full of monuments and markers. And that little marker right there behind me is to the 17th Pennsylvania, the small cavalry unit that was out here. Now, the reason why we're talking about that is because of William S. Severs. Now William S. Severs was a trooper in that unit. And not only that, he was a local boy. He grew up in a place called Dickinson Township. And he was the youngest of 5 kids in that family. His family would have a pretty rough time as he was growing up. And before William himself would perish, his own mother would die too. When he gets to Gettysburg, he doesn't know it, but he's about to be at the front lines of the biggest battle to ever take place on this soil. So William S. Severs is part of that 17th that we were talking about. And he's mounted up and ready to go. He's here in Gettysburg. And part of the tactic is to set skirmishers out front as a forward advance unit so they can slow down the troop movement that's headed towards them, but also provide that initial contact to send back word that they are coming under fire. The 17th gets out there and sets up their skirmish line, and William is a part of that. And what he doesn't realize is he's about to be a part of the opening act for the largest and bloodiest battle in the history of the United States here on this soil. He gets out there, Ewell's men comes up, makes that initial contact, and from ridgeline to ridgeline, the 17th slows down the enemy and does so in a way that it allows the rest of the federal forces to come up and be able to take the other ridge lines beyond the town that sets up the victory here at Gettysburg. William goes on to survive this battle. Not only does he survive it, but he comes out of it pretty clean. But unfortunately for the young man, he doesn't survive the war. Now, William Severs was a young man just like anybody else of his time. He had wants and desires just like we have today. He wanted to see the rest of his life play out, probably wanted a future, but that wasn't going to be. William Severs meets the end of his life at Leestown, Virginia. At that place, he gets into a skirmish. and he's mortally wounded and he dies. He dies before the age of 21. Now, we'll never know what the young man thought, what his life was like really, because there's not a whole lot written about him, and his story is rarely shared. But we do know this. He was willing to sacrifice his life for his country, to defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And that's exactly what he did here at Gettysburg. He defended that Constitution, and when he gets to Leestown, he pays that ultimate sacrifice by dying for his country. He was only 20 years old. I'm walking out to a monument currently for the 73rd New York. And this monument has an extremely sad story behind it here at the Peach Orchard. A couple of twin brothers by the last name of Denon were fighting with the 73rd New York. And at the 7 days battle, Thomas gets a head wound. Well, Thomas ends up out of the picture for a while because of that head wound. And he rejoins the army, and him and his twin brother are back together fighting again when they get to the Battle of Chancellorsville. Thomas ends up dying as a result of another wound. And the soldiers around Thomas and the other brother, they remarked about how his brother wept on the field and how they'd never seen anything like it. It brought them to tears, and it made them extremely sad. Well, his brother went on to say constantly during the campaign headed towards Gettysburg that the next major battle would be his last battle, that he was going to join his brother soon. And he got his wish right here at the Battle of the Peach Orchard in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. That monument is right here behind me. Now, these two brothers are depicted on this monument, and if you can look real close at this monument, firefighters have a brotherhood anyways, kind of like military service members. But they're holding hands. It's a very touching moment to see something like this on this battlefield, because usually it's an individual soldier at the top of these monuments standing bravely and proud and not scared of anything and facing the enemy with their fists in the air. But this one depicts a firefighter and a soldier together, because that's what they were, firefighters and soldiers. And they're also brothers, fighting together alongside each other for freedom and democracy and union. Their story comes to a close here, but this is one of the short stories that's involved with the battle here at the Peach Orchard. The 73rd actually had to stand back here on this hill that I'm at right now and watch as the 114th went into battle against the Mississippians ahead of me. And they weren't able to fight because the 114th was in front of them. They couldn't shoot back, but they were getting shot at by the Mississippians coming across this field. Well, that turns out to be a problem for them, because by the time the 114th decides to skedaddle back across the road and run back in their direction, Mississippi's coming headlong into them. And they're taking heavy fire from that unit coming across, specifically the 17th Mississippi. And eventually, they end up having to retreat back across this field here too, just like the rest of their comrades here at the Battle of the Peach Orchard. I'm about to show just how out of shape I am right now. The Gettysburg battlefield has three observation towers. And a long time ago, there used to be one that was extremely tall that was on the other end of the field. It's no longer there. And they took it down for the purpose of preserving the battlefield and trying to bring it back to the way that it used to be. But that tower did serve a purpose for a while too, besides being an eyesore. It was also a very good view of really the entire battlefield. The tower I'm going through now is a good view of the peach orchard, wheat field, the round tops, and the land in between. Whew. Man, that was a hike. You get about halfway and you're like, I got this. And then it's like, wow. I'm headed back down the tower here to get back in the vehicle and get back to another location so I can get out and walk around. And it reminds me of a story I was told once when I was here from a guide. I don't know how true the story is, but it was funny. So he says he takes these people out to this tower that I'm at right now, takes them to the top, and he shows them the battlefield, and he's explaining how the fight happened and the confusion and how the Confederates were off point and they weren't fighting in the right direction. And he says, and a young man looks up at him and goes, well, sir, why didn't the Confederates just use this tower? It'd be a great place for them to come take a look and see what's going on. Of course, the young man, I guess, didn't realize that this tower is a modern tower. It's not here during the Battle of Gettysburg. Everybody at the group apparently laughed, had a good laugh at it, and patted the young man on the back and then explained why the Confederates didn't use the large tower behind me here. Well, just like the storm of William S. Sever's life was coming here at Gettysburg, one's coming for me. So we're gonna have to wrap this story up here about William Severs. But I hope you learned a little something. And the next time you're out here, go out to the fields right in front of the Peace Light Memorial and just check out the 17th Pennsylvania's monument that's out here. Think of William and all the other young men that were out here fighting with him for the reasons that they fought. Until next time, this is History with Waffles.